wake up, it's the morning. Wake up, the day is dawning. Wake up, it's time to start the day. So everybody's gotta wake up, wake up, wake up. It's the morning. Wake up, the day is dawning. Wake up, it's time to spill some tea. So everybody's gotta wake up, wake up.
Everybody, welcome to Wake Up with T. Oliver. I'm T. Oliver Reed, your host, and yes, you have seen me in multiple Tony Award-winning musicals on Broadway, but now you get to see me sit down virtually with friends, peers, and colleagues while we discuss Broadway, life, and beyond. So let's get to talking. Episode 12. Kritzer!
All right, now you know, life is crummy, well, now you know. I mean, big surprise. People love you and tell you lies. Bricks can tumble from clear blue skies.
Ah, here she is. If it's not the one and only Leslie Kritzer, you've seen her on Broadway. In Beetlejuice, Something Rotten, Elf, Sondheim on Sondheim, A Catered Affair, Legally Blonde, and Hairspray. She is the funny lady of Broadway. Please welcome the one and only Leslie Kritzer.
I was like, I'm wearing a pink shirt for him.
Yes, you are, ladies and gentlemen. Here she is, the one and only Leslie Kritzer. How are you, darling?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. About 15 minutes ago, I looked a lot different than this. I was in my home work clothes, hauling garbage into a friend who's redoing their house.
Yeah.
Who was like, "Oh, I have a dumpster on my driveway," and I was like, "What?" Now, if you're in the suburbs and someone has a dumpster,
yeah,
like that's like gold because you can get rid of all the crap that you've been trying to get rid of, old rugs or whatever. So, like a dumpster. So that's what we did for like a couple of hours. We borrowed a friend of ours car, a bigger car, and we just wood, carpets. I mean, everything.
Well, and literally, like this is. You know, for everything that it has done to everybody, it's like it hit at a good time because it was right when we needed to do spring cleaning. So the spring cleaning is now done.
Exactly. I was thinking of you actually because I was walking up the stairs. We have a guest bedroom, and I was like, I wonder.
You invite me? You invite me to say it? Is that what...
Anytime.
All right.
Anytime.
We will be out.
Once we feel like we can be in closed doors with people, absolutely. Because I was like, I wonder how he would decorate this. Because I feel like you have such good taste, and I love that. It's one of the things I love about you. You don't suffer fools, and if someone has bad taste, you're like, what is happening?
Got no time for that. Got no time for that. So no, are you and I don't want to name the town because again, I don't want people coming out and trying to knock on your door, but are you in that bubble of towns in Jersey that like most of the theater people live in?
Yes, we're in they call it the Brooklyn of New Jersey, which I don't think it's the Brooklyn of New Jersey. I mean, I wish it was as cool as Brooklyn. I see like where you live, I'm like, I want to move back. But yeah, we are in those cluster of towns. So like two of my neighbors are two people that I did Beetlejuice with. Oh. You know, we got wicked people over there. We got, you know, shared people. I mean, everybody's out here, and it's great. And it's also great because we also don't have to see each other, so it's cool. You know, it's like.
So you're from Jersey originally.
Yes.
So and you lived in the five boroughs, and then how long have you been back out in Jersey?
I think now it's 8 years. We lived in the city for years and years. My husband and I. Separately, and then once we got together, we were like a year two, we were like, well, we know we're gonna stay in this. He was like, why don't we just get a house? I was like, what? I was like, we're not even engaged. And then we actually bought a house before we got engaged, so we weren't, was like a thing. We like kind of knew, you know. So yeah, we moved out here about 8 years ago, and it's actually 10 minutes from where I grew up. So when I was growing up, we used to come down to this town, and like this high school was one of our rival high schools. And I used to, you know, there was an Italian place that we used to go to growing up. So like, I know this area really well. So
now how did you and Vadim meet?
We met in, I believe 2001 or 2002. He was finishing grad school at NYU for musical theater writing. And you know how they have those thesis projects,
Yeah.
and you come in and they hire you to come in and sing. And he was musical directing one of them, and we met, and I was like, and he was very smart and he had an attitude, and I was sure that he hated me, and I totally loved that. And he was super funny and just dry, and that's where we met. And then my first one-person show that I ever did, I asked him to musical direct it. It was at Ars Nova, and so we kind of, that's how we were in each other's orbit. And then, as you know, in our world, you know, he did Spelling Bee on Broadway. I was doing Legally Blonde, same circle of people, but it wasn't, you know, ships passing all the time. It wasn't until 2008 that I was doing a show at City Center on the town. He came to the last performance with our mutual friend, Carmel Dean. She just happened to have an extra ticket.
Yeah.
And at the closing night party, we started talking, and we've been together. Like, we went out with everyone after, like, to Faces and Names for a drink after. And then we went on a first date a couple of days later, and we've been together ever since.
Nice. So, had you thought that you were going to end up in a relationship with someone else that was in theater in the business, or you were like, oh no, let's stay away? Because, you know, it depending on who it is always that question, like, I've always stayed away from this, or yeah, I absolutely wanted someone who knew the life.
Always stayed away. Didn't date anybody in the business. I mean, I dated musicians, but they weren't even in the business either, because I just didn't, I wanted to keep it so separate. I didn't even have to try to do that. It's just like I was never around anyone that I was interested in shows. I mean, I had things, but it wasn't like
yes.
We had moments, but
in the woods, yes.
Right. And then, you know, it just was timing, as you know. It's always timing, right? It's like just happens, you know, and that was it.
Yeah. And were you the funny child, or have you always been Leslie Kritzer is what I'm asking you, because funny is so easy for you, and it is when you're in the room with you, it's like it's so light and easy, and it feels like, you know, like a cotton ball is bouncing off of one hand to the other. It's that kind of joy. Have you always known that you were funny like that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you know, when you grow up and they're like, oh, she's such a ham. Like, you know, I always knew that was kind of my role. Like, I just kind of just did that. It was always weird. And my parents were very funny. My dad is very funny. My brother's very funny. We have a lot of that in our family. Yeah. And I also grew up, like when I was raised on great comedy too, like watching that. So I kind of took it on too. Like, I learned growing up watching some of the best shows and best comedians, and you know, I think, oh yeah, I've always been doing characters in my little, you know, radio shows in my closet, you know, making up voices and all kinds of stuff, and you know, without even trying, that's just, I've always lived there, and I'm still there.
And so you went to Cincinnati Conservatory.
Yes.
How was that experience? I went to conservatory, but it was for classical music. So I didn't go to the musical, like one of those great musical theater programs. How was that? And was it crazy, the competition, and like of all those people who are working now and in New York? Because were you there at the same time? It was
90. We graduated.
Like Christy Cates were all there around the same time.
That's right.
Okay.
And Christy and I were just talking yesterday, because she's working at New York Stage and Film, and her graduating senior class, I talked to them yesterday on Zoom because they're graduating today. So we were talking about college. So yeah, it was like me, Shoshana Bean, Christy Cates. I'm trying to think of other people you would know that are in my class. Some of them are not in the business anymore. But yeah, like, so 4 years of that school was rough, and I didn't. There are so many great things about it. It totally you become real competitive because of a school like that.
Yeah.
I think, at least for, you know, there's different generations that go through schools, right? Our particular generation, and like the ones before us and a little after us, you know, were tough. I mean, you got cut from school up to I think it was up to sophomore year, maybe even junior year. I mean, both of my roommates got cut, and I was like, you know, so it's no joke. But I was kind of glad that it was like that, because this business is so tough.
Yeah.
It's so hard. It really prepared me for what that was like. And I didn't come from a performing arts high school. I studied classical voice. And my voice teacher was an opera singer. I studied classical piano. So I actually came from a classical background. But like, I always loved doing musical theater. I liked being funny. So I actually chose, I was like, am I going to be a voice major at Rochester, or, one of the Eastman or really do voice, or am I going to do this? And I was like, oh, this is more me. I went to school there, and it was great. I think but it definitely, it wore you out. I mean, 4 years of that. Mm-hmm. But I was supposed to go to school there, and I didn't even apply to some of the bigger ones because my grades weren't that good. But I always say to these kids, I'm like, you wind up where you're supposed to go.
Yeah.
That's it.
And how did you hear about Cincinnati? Considering, I mean, again, you're raised in New Jersey and in the New York area. So how was that school even on your radar?
Faith Prince.
Really?
Faith Prince. So now my parents didn't always take me to like every Broadway show. I had some really rich friends that their parents were like, Broadway shows. And I sometimes would go, like I remember seeing Crazy for You,
yeah,
Jodie Benson and all them, and a bunch of other shows, but we would go sometimes. And I would take class though in the city. I would go to Broadway Dance, the original Broadway Dance, and take class with Frank Hatchett. Mm-hmm. We'd get on the bus and we whatever. And sometimes we would pick up playbills on the street and just like read them. And I loved playbills. I love playbills. And I saw, I'd listen to all these cast recordings all the time. I would go to Sam Goody and I'd buy my CDs or whatever, and I'd listen, And Guys and Dolls was a CD that I listened to on repeat, Faith Prince and Nathan Lane. And I said, oh my God, that's me. I'm like, I feel like I get Faith Prince. Like I want to know everything about her. And I don't know how I found out that she went to Cincinnati, but I did. And that always was in the back of my mind. And I just was like, that's a school I want to go to because she went there.
Yeah.
And then I applied and I got in. And then years later, she did a talk back. She signed my CD. And then she played my mom in a catered affair, which was crazy. So it was so full circle. It was just like, and when I remember being in rehearsal going, I followed her career, I went to the same school, and here we are. It's like crazy. So, yeah.
And now you are the reigning funny lady on Broadway. And well, you listen, you are. I mean, there are a lot of amazing people working right now. And you are one of them, but you are also like one of the funniest people to ever grace the stage. But she also sings her face off. So she's not just funny. She also chirps.
When she's working, she's pretty good. When she's working, she's pretty good. And I have to say, this run of Beetlejuice, I don't know. I have done shows that are so much harder. So much easier. That's what I meant. So much easier and had so much problems. But this is like a hardest show physically, all this stuff. And she was like, I'm good. I was like, okay. I trust you. Okay. I was like, are you sure? She's like, no, I'm fine. Don't worry about me. Stop going back to 2013. We're not there anymore. I'm good now.
Right. So wait, 2013 was that an outside of New York? Okay. So
I like made up a year, but like it's like a what year was Robert Bragdon? Robert Bragdon gave me a lot of vocal problems. I mean, really? that was maybe four years ago, actually. It was four years ago. That show, because I was doing all that twang and the screaming, and she wasn't having it.
And do you work with a voice teacher right now, or are you sort of good on your own and going in for occasional tune-ups, or how do you take care of yourself?
Yeah, I'll do occasional tune-ups, but depending on what it is and what I need. Like I'll need to go in there. And I go to different people for different things. Like when I ran into real vocal problems, I went to Joan Lader because she knows how to actually rehabilitate certain things.
Yeah.
But then I went to my voice teacher who I got in college, who was amazing, D. Michael Heath. I went to him. Then I went to Derek from Vocal Power to do something with the Beetlejuice stuff that was very specific. So I'll go around depending, but usually I don't take voice lessons on the regular. If I did, lately I've been thinking, I want to start going back to my soprano range because as you know, it levels everything out.
Yeah.
I like singing that classical stuff. So it's something I would go back to, but normally, especially if you're running a show, A, you're tired, B, it's in your body, but try singing something else.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
She was like, I don't do that. I got one job.
Mm-mm.
So it's hard. I gotta, like, sometimes you're like, oh. So
and what is the process for you? Because I know we've talked about it, and we're in some meetings a few years ago when we were dealing with different contracts and whether workshops and all those things. The process of you being so funny and putting you into these roles, whatever they may be, whether it's for Beetlejuice or for other shows, what is that sort of juggling act like for you when you're like, I know that's funny on the page, but what I'm going to bring to it is actually going to be funnier if you let me go ahead and just do that.
Well, first it starts with the director and writers who will go ahead and let me do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they know when I'm walking in the room, they know what they're getting. They know that I come in with my bag and I have my ideas.
Yes.
And I don't pull them out all the time right away. I always say, don't show all your tricks in rehearsal. Mm-hmm. Because then they'll get tired of them. And once you're in previews, that's when you want to pull out some other tricks.
Yeah.
Because then you have the audience on your side and they're the final judge. And if it works, then they're in the show. You're more apt to get what you want during previews. And I'm not talking like I'm talking like sprinkle.
Yeah.
Sprinkle the special sauce during
yes.
the previews. But I think for me, I come in, I do what they need me to do because that's my job. And then at some point, I said, can I try this? Can I try this? I always do it with an air of respect because as someone that also creates things, mm-hmm. It's a very touchy, everyone's trying to put on something new and everyone's scared and nervous and is it good? Is it not? So I am aware of that when I don't try to be like, well, that don't work. Even though on the page, I'm like, that's not funny. I'm going to have to but you wind up having a collaboration, especially if the director, like Alex Timbers, is so working with him. He trusts me, and that's a big deal. When a director trusts you to do you, that's half their job, is hiring the right people that they trust and allowing them to be the best, to bring their skills into the room.
Absolutely.
And the writers too. It's a little harder with writers. Writers are a little bit, it takes them longer to come around. So you're like, do you mind if I do that? Some of them are a little whatever. The writers on Beetlejuice were so open. We created so much in the room. Mm-hmm. And for me, I'm fearless. I'm like, I don't care about looking like an idiot or ugly or dumb. Meaning like when I'm creating a character, I throw everything on the wall. And if you're with a cool group of people, you trust that you can fall on your face and that's okay. Because it takes a long time to figure out what works, because it's not, you're not the whole show. You're a piece of the show. Like, and you got to figure out what is just like the right amount for your piece in the bigger picture. Right. Mm-hmm. So that's why I hate the term. I always say this and I hate the term chewing scenery because I feel like it's not, sorry, Jersey trash. Like, where are you going? Where are you going? There's nowhere to go.
You should be home right now.
Go home. Home Depot, who cares?
Yeah.
Chewing scenery sometimes, like I get it. And there are people who are very guilty of it. But I think funny's funny, right? Yeah. As long as you're not like crazy taking over people's jobs in the scene. I think the ability to make an audience laugh is so amazing. When it happens, it's like magic, because to get someone to laugh, that's hard.
Yeah.
That's not, that's a gift, and it's a privilege that you've made them laugh. That's like, oh, thank you, because people, especially audiences in New York, they're not always ha ha ha.
No.
They're going like,
they're waiting for you to prove that you're worth the ticket price for anything else. But I mean, it's also, and what you're saying, like with between the scenery, it's like, it's the idea of like, if you can, I always think if you can put something into a character that serves the character, that allows the story to continue to be told, you can they take it out of your bag and put it into the character. It's like, but like you said, it's every once in a while you get someone who it's just about, I'm going to make you laugh no matter if it's following the story that's on the other side of the stage. That can be,
it's like too much. You feel it on stage when you're you feel it when you're on stage with someone like that.
yes.
And you feel it when you're in the audience watching someone like that, where if everything comes from a real place and it serves the scene, you're golden.
Yeah.
Which is why all the time, like even during Robert Bridegroom, the character I played in Robert Bridegroom was so over the top and so crazy. Mm-hmm. I mean, to the point I had to sit on people's laps in the audience. I mean, it was a lot. And I would always check in with Alex Timbers, and I would say, hey, is it too much? You can always pull me back. And he's like, no, this is exactly what we need. I said, okay, because I want to check in here. We're an ensemble. We're on stage as like in Hadestown, we're on stage a lot.
Yeah.
Whole time sitting with each other. I want to make sure that I'm serving this story in this 90 minutes where it's not just about me. And he was appreciative of that. And that's something that I also appreciate it in other actors too, when they do that. And I'm like, wow, that's so cool. We're a team, know? So you got to have your turn, and then, know how to.
For sure. With Beetlejuice, because again, like you guys, like you opened, and it was after you opened, after reviews, everything, that you guys started really getting this audience like surge of love coming at you. That seemed like it was going to go on forever, and then we have COVID that, like with every show, like shuts everything down. How was the non-on stage experience for you, knowing that the audience was starting to get it and starting to come and selling out all the time, and the way that they were responding to it, and knowing that there was possibility of another show trying to get that theater, all these things that were going on? How did those things affect just you being able to get to the theater and do your job?
Right. I think, our show I always expect, when we don't get good reviews, when you're in a show, you and I have been around a long time.
Yeah.
And so I never expect shows to run. I never have been in a show that's like, I've never been in a show more than a year, ever. And for whatever circumstances, but most times the shows that I'm in don't last as long. So I always didn't have like any huge ideas for Beetlejuice. I was like, I'm psyched. I'm doing an amazing part. And then, so when this phenomenon of these fans and what happened after the Tonys, I think was or right around that time was our album and that Tony Award performance.
Yeah.
People they lost their shit. I mean, they just loved it. And the kids and Instagram and all these things and the cosplay, I mean, all of it, you could not plan. It's a moment in time. It's in the zeitgeist. All these things happen at once. And it was like, wow. And so we just rode the wave, right? We knew we didn't get the greatest reviews. We got a bunch of Tony nominations. We're like, what? Okay. And then as things were, going along, we just kept selling and selling and selling in January and February. And we're like, what? And then this, the Music Man thing happened, obviously. And we had heard rumblings about it. Like, I even went to company management. I was like, I know Hugh Jackman trying to take this theater. And she was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I was like,
yeah.
Like, we know, but they can't, they weren't allowed to say anything, but everyone knew there was some shit going on.
Uh-huh.
And we just kept getting more popular as that stuff was happening. And then it was made clear to us that it happened, but it didn't stop the show. It didn't stop the momentum. It got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then just as we were like, I was looking at my paycheck going, oh my God, we broke that again? again every week. And for me, I just always I was like, well, whatever is meant to happen is meant to happen. If we're supposed to get another theater, we will. And I felt that. And I think, I mean, I can't say 100% sure, but I really feel like when this is over, or when whatever that means, I feel like this show is going to continue. I know that we have other options. That has been made clear to us. It's not official yet. But we really tried hard to stay away from any, I mean, David Josephsberg and I did a funny rap during when we were doing Thanksgiving Day Parade, and we put it you're not going to see our theater. But we're just being because our friends are in Music Man. We want those people to have those jobs.
Absolutely.
We just thought maybe they could have taken another theater and left us alone.
Yes.
But that's not this business. It's business. So we just we always talked about what's going to happen. And then right as the next step was unfolding for our show, this happened.
Yeah.
And it happened so quick that, as you know, that now it's just, we're in limbo, all of us. Mm-hmm. But we do have a life beyond this. It's just a matter of what is the world going to look like, right?
Yeah, for sure.
What is our city going to look like after this? I don't know.
For me, it's been interesting because we, especially looking at the subways and all these things, and we're doing these deep cleanings, and I look at them and this means you weren't cleaning at all before. So now we've got to get to the point where things are sanitary so that people can live on top of each other the way that we do, riding in trains back and forth from Jersey to the city, or from the city to Long Island and all these places. It's one person sits down and get up, and then another person sits down in dirty hands and all this. We're realizing that people haven't been washing their hands enough because now we're washing our hands all the time. It's these are the things that are going to change, and they're not going to go back. They're not going to go back to what we were doing before. How have you been keeping sane through all of this?
For me, I'm a productive oriented person. I thrive on some sort of schedule, some sort of, okay, today I'm going to do this. Today I'm going to do this. Today I'm going to do this. But I've always been that way. I like creating. I like doing things. Yeah. But I've also found that I've had to, I'm taking class. I'm putting together my room. With my self-tape stuff, and starting to get into a practice with that, because that is going to be what life is going to be for everyone. Yes. I think in theater, and for a while, theater, TV, film. So I've been preparing myself for that. So that's a bit like a business thing. The other business thing that I've been doing is that I do a lot of voiceovers. So I also have in my house, I have a closet that I have transformed into a studio, because I'm still, and God bless, I'm still working. So yeah. I've been working this entire time doing the voiceover stuff, which is stuff that I was working on before. So that is a blessing. And so that keeps me busy. Yeah. As far as my sanity, I try to connect with as many people as I can. And also I'm enjoying my home. I'm enjoying my husband, and slowing down. I'm trying to just find the good things and stay positive, but also realize that this is it's waves come over me, where there are days where I don't want to do nothing at all, and I don't know how to feel, or I don't, and the other big thing is that my mom is in a nursing home. She's in the Actors Fund home in Englewood, New Jersey.
Yeah, have you been able to get into, or get over there so that you can see her face and see that she's fine? Or
I mean, we can FaceTime. We FaceTime. I FaceTime on Tuesday. My sister FaceTimes on Friday. But she has dementia, and honestly, the biggest, I don't worry about me. I don't worry about my husband or anything as much as I worry about her. Obviously, she's my mother. My dad is fine, but she has dementia. They're isolated in their rooms. They're eating meals in their rooms. Thank God the number of cases and fatalities there have basically stopped. people were passing away there, like many nursing homes.
Oh,
But it's hard because she's not engaging a lot with other people because, you know, they have a lot of activities and stuff.
yeah.
So I do my best to, you know, when I see her, just engage with her, make her laugh, my sister too, and we send her gifts, but we're not allowed to go up to a window and see her. It's just not, because there's so many people that want to do that. It causes chaos, and it's just better for now. And we don't know when I'm going to be able to see her. But thankfully, she's content. You know, she goes, I'm sick of it, but she's not angry or crazy sad or anxious. I'm very blessed.
Mhm.
But that's the thing that I have to constantly work on, is that, you know, you always wish that you could have a better situation. I was like, I wish that I had a big ass house and I could have someone living here with me and she could be here with me, and but that's not my life. You
Mhm.
know, and she's in really good hands there.
Yeah.
People that take care of her are amazing. The Actors Fund has been amazing. So, you know, that's what it is. And I'm blessed that I'm lucky that I have her there.
Yeah.
And, you know, so, but life's good. I'm very lucky, and I say my little gratitude list every day for all the good things that I have, you know. So
Nice.
I'm all right, you know.
And talking about that, I mean, again, one of you know, being able to talk about politics and technique and
Woo!
religion, it's like for with the gratitude list, like where are you, and what part does like faith or spirituality or the universe or whatever you may call it play in your life?
Well, I belong to a spiritually based group. That's what I shall say.
Uh-huh.
And that keeps me in line.
Cool.
It keeps me faith-based.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps me, it's not all about me all the time. You know, that I do believe God has a plan, or you can say universe or God of your understanding or whatever.
Yes, absolutely.
I have learned so much by, I'll just say it, I'm in a 12-step program. But I've been in it for a long time, and I feel like it's totally changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
It's made me look at things differently. The world does not revolve around me. There's a bigger thing at work here. And when I live my life in that sort of way, with it's not me first, you know, I'm better off. I'm out of my ego. I'm out of my head. I'm out of my BS. Mm. And when I can, you know, I mean, look, I have my little box here with my little God grant me serenity to accept things I cannot change.
Yes. And the wisdom to know the difference. I mean, seriously, I mean, that's, and but it's hard in this business when you're starring in a Broadway show and there's all this hype and people are blowing your head up all the time, and it's all this talk, blah, 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 to remember that there's a higher power. There is something that is greater than you, and you are part of this puzzle that is happening right now. So to keep that balance.
I'm a small piece, and I'm not, you know, they always say, like, I know I'm good at what I do. I'm really good at what I do. And I've worked really hard, but I've also been really lucky. And all of the accolades and stuff, I know what it's like when all of that disappears and I go knock, knock, and no one answers. Okay. And then I know what it's like to be red carpet and Leslie, can I take your picture? Leslie, can I take your picture? Oh, awards this, awards that. Yeah. I know what that is too. And so I know what being grounded is, thank God, because I think if like I was telling this senior class yesterday, if Funny Girl had gone to Broadway in 2001 when I did it in Paper Mill Playhouse and I was 23 years old, I think the reason why it was supposed to happen too, not only because 9/11 happened, I would have been a hot mess. I have seen young people crash and burn by getting too much too soon.
Absolutely.
And I could have been that easily, because and it's not listen, and I'll get real with you. My parents are wonderful people, but I had a crazy upbringing. I had a crazy upbringing, and I could see myself if I had gotten too much too soon and hadn't gone through certain things, I would have imploded because I would have been like, yes, I'm owed something. My parents put me through, now I'm going to spend my money and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I'm going to treat people like shit because I was treated like shit. Mm-hmm. And I really feel like I'm now at 48 years old, Sunday.
I love you.
48 years old, 27 on Sunday.
Yes.
I have, I've been through a lot of things and I can appreciate now work. I can appreciate the little things. Mm-hmm. And I know I can be fierce and all that stuff too, but I really think all of it was meant to happen, all for a reason. All of this stuff, it just was, and I don't know what that reason is. It's God wanted me where God wanted me, and so I keep following. Where you want me, over here? Okay.
Yes, I know He wants great things for you, and they are happening, and I know, and I hope that they will continue to happen. You are just the best. You're just.
You are, and you make people. I have to tell you, you make people. You know Brian Lair on.
Yeah.
I run to when I unless I have something on, I run to either my phone or Facebook, the Instagram or Facebook, to watch you do your show, which I call a show. It is a show.
Thank you.
Just like I turn on Brian Lair, or just like I turn on my MSNBC, because you make people happy. I love how you talk. I love how passionate you are. There's so much bullshit going on in the world right now. You make things so simple, the way you explain it, and for every person. And I just love that. You really communicate so beautifully, and you make me laugh. You know what you're not going to do.
I mean, listen, you have to tell the kids. You have to warn them before they try it. It's like, don't come here with me with that kind of craziness. Yes, it will not go well for you.
You know, I love it. It's like you have your own sayings, and not many people can do that. Not many people can be imitated. And for me to be able to do an imitation of you like that, to remember that's because you're special. I love that about you. I love it.
You're crazy. I love you so much. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Wake up, it's the morning. Wake up, the day is dawning. Wake up, it's time to spill the tea. So everybody's gotta wake up, wake up, wake up. It's the morning. Wake up, the day is dawning. Wake up, it's time to spill the tea. So everybody's gotta wake up, wake up.